Could the Red Sox be looking to add something big in the coming weeks? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. Between the fact that the Red Sox just traded Rafael Devers, demoted Christian Campbell down to minor league baseball, and the fact that Alex Bregman's currently on the IL, which, sidebar, I don't know if you guys have seen this video yet or not, but we got some footage of Alex Bregman actually running with some weighted plates on his shoulders. That's a really, really good sign that he's continuing to really take some steps forward in his progression. I really don't know how much longer he's going to be on the IL. They continue to sort of keep it a mystery to us as fans, so it's going to be interesting to see when he comes back. But regardless, this Red Sox offense, it looks much different than it did just a couple of weeks ago. And with the deadline coming up, it's got a lot of people questioning, combined with the fact that there's a lot of money off the books right now, and the Red Sox are currently under the luxury tax, whether or not the Red Sox are going to add something big. And there's a little bit of smoke to this fire because we have a couple of rumors that could substantiate this a little bit. The first one isn't so much a rumor. It's just simply a statement from Craig Breslow himself when he talked about what the Rafael Devers trade meant for the rest of the regular season in his press conference after trading the face of the franchise. In that, he said basically this trade was not a white flag on 2025, right? And if they are competitive, he's going to want to add to this team, specifically saying that this team in particular is a team he wants to add to. So Craig Breslow himself coming out and saying he's looking to add to the Boston Red Sox, but outside of that too, we do have the typical rumor mill type stuff. Guys like Jon Heyman, who you always have to take with a grain of salt. Never fully take Jon Heyman at his face value, especially when it comes to Red Sox stuff. Said recently in his sort of live stream Bleacher Report type thing, whatever that is, he said that the Red Sox are appearing to look for a bat coming into the trade deadline. Mark Feinsand also had an article recently where he talked to MLB executives sort of with the fallout of the Rafael Devers trade. They mentioned that they believe that the Red Sox should and will add offensively to this Red Sox team. So there are a couple of different ways we can look at this, and there are a couple of different things that could happen here, but I did want to go over what a couple of different sort of bigger trades the Red Sox could make over the coming weeks and what it would mean for the Boston Red Sox. Now, obviously, there's one big caveat to this, and this is that the Red Sox have to remain competitive between now and the MLB trade deadline. It's going to be really difficult for the Red Sox to pull off any sort of big trade in the next 2-3 weeks, right? You're going to have to basically wait until you get to that MLB deadline. A lot of teams, even if they're pretty far out of contention, don't love the idea of kind of waving the white flag, right? Something that the Red Sox looked like they were doing when they traded Rafael Devers. Hopefully something they're not doing on the 2025 season. But regardless, it's really hard to get a trade done before the trade deadline in Major League Baseball, right? To trade in the middle of June is a lot more difficult to trade towards the end of July, which means the Red Sox are going to have to stay competitive between now and then. And it appears like that could be a little bit of a difficult task, right? Especially if Bregman's going to continue to take, 2, 3, 4 weeks to get back onto this Red Sox team. This offense is going to have to step up in a big way between now and then. Guys like Marcelo and Roman Anthony, they're going to have to take big steps forward pretty immediately for the Red Sox. This pitching staff is going to have to continue to pitch like their ace caliber pitching staff, right? The way they've been pitching lately. You've got to have guys like Abraham Toro continue to produce for you, Trevor Story continue to produce for you, but it's not entirely impossible, right? You look at where the Red Sox are right now. They're 2 games over 500. They're currently in possession of the final wild card spot. If the season ended today, they'd be going to the postseason, right? The AL picture in general really isn't all that stiff, at least for right now, right? I mean, the team that's right below them in the standings is 500, right? If the Red Sox can just maintain this pace and stay 500 until the MLB trade deadline, there's probably a pretty good chance here that they're at least in the picture of a wild card spot, if not in a wild card spot. So I also think that's a factor as well, and I don't think it's impossible for the Red Sox to be even remotely close to a wild card spot come the trade deadline. And if that is the case, there's absolutely zero reason at all why Craig Breslow should say, you know what, I think we're going to sell on this season, right? Because there's still an immense amount of talent on the Red Sox. They still have some really key pieces here, and they still have the potential to be a really solid team. So what do some of those trades look like? The big name, in my opinion, that's been attached most to the Boston Red Sox in recent days, especially following this Rafael Devers trade, is the idea of the Red Sox trading with the Arizona Diamondbacks for first baseman Josh Naylor. One of the reasons is because the Diamondbacks are currently 500 on the season. They lost Corbin Burnes for basically a year and a half, right? He had to get Tommy John surgery. They're 8 games back of first place out there in the NL West, 3 games out of a wild card spot, and if things keep trending the way that they are trending, they've got a whole lot of expiring deals that they could move on from and really sort of retool coming into 2026. If that is the case, Josh Naylor is incredibly appealing if you're a Red Sox fan. He's currently slashing .304 with a .359 on base percentage and a .471 slug for a .129 OPS plus. He has 9 home runs and 49 RBIs on the year, on pace for about 20 home runs and about 100 RBIs on the season right now. The Sox have lost a lot of offense lately, and they could use a short-term first baseman, right? He's on an expiring deal, so it makes a lot of sense, and it shouldn't cost a ton to get Josh Naylor in a Red Sox uniform, right? He's sort of limited in terms of what his potential WAR could be because he's that first baseman. He's on an expiring deal. What the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to want in return is going to be pretty interesting, right? I think one of the more sort of undervalued parts of all of this is that every team in Major League Baseball right now knows the Red Sox really could use a bat, which means they're not going to give one up for cheap, right? You're probably going to have to overpay for whatever player you end up getting. Now, in terms of this specific deal, I think there is a legitimate shot here that the Red Sox can get something done with some of the pitching talent that they have in this organization, right? The Diamondbacks, they could use some controllable starting pitching going forward. They've got a couple of guys on expiring deals in that rotation. Maybe a guy like Tanner Houck, who's retooled and healthy, could be a name that could anchor a deal. Maybe a guy like David Sandlin, who's maybe a year away from actually making an impact at the major league level, could anchor a deal for a Josh Naylor, right? It wouldn't cost you Franklin Arias or Christian Campbell to get this deal done, but it certainly would cost you something that's going to end up sort of being, I don't know if it would be hurtful, but I mean, any trade you're going to make because of the place that the Red Sox are in is going to hurt a little bit. Maybe these are 2-ish guys that could center a deal. Maybe a guy like Richard Fitz as well. Those are names that potentially you could figure out a way to make a deal get done here. On top of that, another name that's been mentioned a lot within Red Sox Nation, really just sort of the rumor mill in general, in terms of guys who are going to be available in the bat category, is a guy like Ryan O'Hearn of the Baltimore Orioles. It's in division, which would make this really interesting, but we all know the Orioles are struggling this year, right? They're 10 games under 500, 6 games out of a wild card spot, a distant 5th place in the AL East. It doesn't look like they have much interest in bringing O'Hearn back, who also has some first base experience and is currently slashing .301 with a .381 on base percentage and a .481 slug for a .147 OPS plus, 10 homers on the season as well. So a nice pull power hitter from the right-hand side could be kind of fun to have in Boston for the second half of the season, right? He's on the last year of his deal as well, and a very team-friendly deal, by the way, I must add. Again, like Naylor, this probably wouldn't be an incredibly difficult one for the Red Sox to pull off. I don't know exactly where the Orioles are going to land in terms of what they're going to be looking for from this Red Sox team, but I would have to imagine it's in the pitching department, right? The Orioles are not a good pitching team right now. It is a major reason why they're in the spot that they're in. I don't know if they're going to be looking for bullpen, maybe some controllable bullpen arms. I don't know if they're going to be looking for more rotational pieces. I would have to imagine that they're going to be looking for more rotational pieces. I would imagine a similar kind of situation with the Diamondbacks, right? A guy like David Sandlin may be on the table. A guy like Tanner Houck may be on the table that interests the Orioles in getting something like this done. Obviously, I think you'd have to add a little bit to both of those guys to make it work, but I could see a deal centering around all of those guys. Although I got to say, I would hate seeing Tanner Houck in a Baltimore Orioles uniform. I think he would absolutely destroy the Red Sox. Regardless, this is absolutely an option as well. On the other hand, there's a ton of time before the deadline, right? The pitching rotation looks really solid right now, while the lineup looks like it desperately needs some help. But by the time the deadline comes around, maybe there is a chance that Anthony and Myers start really starting to shine in Major League Baseball. They get Bregman back, let's say a couple of weeks before the deadline, and he looks fantastic. Maybe they added Masataka Yoshida, and he starts looking really good, right? And all of a sudden, this offense has figured itself out a little bit. The focus may shift towards, hey, we could probably get a legitimate number 2 in here that could actually legitimately help this rotation, right? Because the Red Sox, they got a whole bunch of MLB starting pitchers right now, but sometimes quantity over quality isn't a great thing, and maybe, just maybe, getting a solid number 2 in here wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. One name that pops to mind, in my opinion, would be a guy like Edward Cabrera of the Miami Marlins. Now, we've actually talked about him a lot through the years on this channel. I love Edward Cabrera. I always have. I still think he could be a really solid pitcher in Major League Baseball, but this year, he's really starting to put it together. Through 12 starts on the season, he has a 3.81 ERA with a 3.89 FIP, a 1.39 WHIP, which is a little bit high. It's mostly because that walk rate remains kind of an issue for Cabrera, but he is not allowing a ton of damage on the base pass right now. It's a 1.14 ERA plus. This one would definitely cost a lot more than the other two. Starting pitching's always going to be a premium. Starting pitching's always a premium at the deadline right now, right? So you're going to have to pay pretty much an arm and a leg. I would imagine if Edward Cabrera continues to pitch the way he's pitching right now, a guy like Wilyer Abreu may have to be put on the table to get this done. Maybe you could center it around prospects, a guy like Mikey Romero, something like that. I could also see that being the case as well. So, this one, it would be pretty difficult to get done for the Red Sox. It would hurt a lot, but, we've been talking about the logjam in the outfield for a long period of time here. That this could be a type of deal that would figure that out pretty quickly. And again, I think it rests solely on the idea of the offense figuring itself out and being able to expend a guy like Wilyer Abreu. But if that is the case, they get to the deadline and look at that and say, okay, this is something we could do, I could absolutely see something like this happening. And again, it would give you immediately a sub-4 ERA pitcher, which would easily slot into bare minimum number 3 in this rotation, if not number 2 right now. Maybe you could put Bayo there because he's settled down in his recent starts, but I don't know if I'm ready to say Bayo's a mid-rotation pitcher at this point in the season. So I would be very interested in a guy like Edward Cabrera. There are a ton of options for the Red Sox, right? It's not like the Red Sox are sitting here and they back themselves into a corner where they have to go and get so-and-so, and they have to go and get so-and-so, but that doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it any easier, and again, you've got so much time here. The problem is, we're just gonna have to wait and see, because again, like I mentioned, a lot of teams, even teams like the Orioles or the Marlins, who are well away from being a contending team in Major League Baseball, aren't usually super keen on getting rid of their key pieces in the middle of June. It hurts ticket sales, it does all of that things as well, outside of just simply immediately making your baseball team worse. Is something like the Red Sox just did, right? But they're in a different position than the Sox are. So that's the problem with all of this, is we could sit here, we could talk about, okay, Heyman and Feinstein and Breslow himself say, look, the Red Sox are going to add to this team. They're going to try and push in 2025, but we aren't really going to know if that's the case for a couple of weeks, and it drives me absolutely crazy. But the rumors are there. Right? The rumors are there that the Red Sox are looking to do something, and I think they absolutely have to do something. If they let this team lose Rafael Devers, continue to be competitive, and then do basically nothing at the deadline, if they're competitive, it would be flat-out malpractice. It would be a disservice to this team, and it would make it look like Craig Breslow has absolutely no idea what he's doing, which I think some people are genuinely questioning right now. So, I don't know, right? You sit here with all this stuff, and right now it's just rumors. There's not really anything to substantiate any of this right now. And I don't think there's going to be for at least a couple of weeks. It's all going to depend on how these young kids do and whether or not this team can rally behind the loss of Rafael Devers. So we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. But I'm starting to get my hopes up a little bit that they're going to do something bigger-ish to help this team win some games in the back half of 2025. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? Do you think there is a big trade coming? And if you do, what trade would you make if you were the GM of the Boston Red Sox? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.